hurricane, but the damage is already done. I want to take a second and really bring you back to less than 24 hours ago. This storm reached peak winds at about 155 miles per hour, made landfall at 150 miles per hour. This is going to go down in history as one of the worst storms that Florida has ever seen. And I think one of the most harrowing things about it was the deafening silence that happened. We saw these videos of the storm surge rolling in, and then it went silent. It's been silent. Cell phone towers went down. At one point, I went back in time, tried to look up the wind speeds. It hit 80 miles per hour, and then they went out. That means the anemometers were just blown out. Very, very popular bridge that connects one of the barrier islands, made of concrete, just gave out into the ocean. This is one of the most harrowing images I think that you're going to see going forward, is all the damage that was done. Now, all that storm surge has come back out, but I don't even think we realize the magnitude of damage that's done there. We haven't been able to really see the images, and I think the death toll might surprise some of us. Just the silence is very eerie right now. You saw a bunch of video, and then it just went blank. So thoughts and prayers for everyone that was in southwestern Florida. This was a major storm, and it continues to wreak havoc on Florida still at this point. Here's a live look at one of the cameras that is in northeast Florida right now. You can see the winds are really starting to rock. The winds are no longer really an issue compared to the rain. Of course, you're still having gusts up to 75 miles per hour. Still hurricane gusts, but comparatively to where it was, this is mainly a rain threat and a flooding threat going forward. So here's a look at Tropical Storm Ian right now. This has still a really tight rotation. It's moving back over to the Atlantic. Still seeing rain rates at 1 to 2 to 3 inches per hour pumping in to northeastern Florida. But it's not just the storm surge that we saw. Look at that rain. That area of white is showing a 15 to 20 inch swath of rain that extends for miles completely across central Florida. So the rainfall was epic. The storm surge up to 12 feet plus. And what's most concerning about this is there were dozens of 911 calls, but no one could come to those calls. People did not evacuate as they should have. Again, as I mentioned, the silence, the damage that we're going to see, and even the death toll from this, don't even want to speak of it because you don't know where we're going. So not trying to bring down the mood, but I just really want everyone to realize how serious of a storm this was. And for those that did try to brave the storm, I hope that they're okay, because a lot of people trying to call their loved ones, the cell phone towers are down and they can't reach them. So we are with you. There's a lot of people that are going to be heading down to try to help anyone. There'll probably a lot of rescues going today. Luckily, that storm surge has pulled out. But where do we go from here? So tracking Ian, the most recent advisory was at 8 a.m. They're no longer doing that every hour update. Here's a look at Tropical Storm Ian, what it's going to do. It's expected to go back out into the Atlantic, and then it's going to make landfall again right around Charleston. It looks like Charleston's going to get the brunt of some of the stronger winds. It actually intensifies. I would not be surprised if this slows down just a little bit, that this could turn back into Hurricane Ian. We're seeing the most recent update that 70 mile per hour winds. That means that we're only 4 away from this turning back over to a hurricane. So I'm a little bit more concerned about the winds with this for South Carolina compared to the previous forecast. It will be flying, though. Luckily, it's going to cruise through. We were seeing an excessive speed earlier in the week as far as how fast this is going to move. Then it's slowed down through Florida, and then it's going to pick back up before it eventually dies down to subtropical and no longer Ian by the end of your Saturday. But there's a lot of impacts that we're going to be seeing here, including right here, storm surge potential. Around Charleston, 4 to 6 foot storm surge. This is a tropical storm, so a lot of people obsess about the winds. It's the storm surge that's the most deadly. So these are very dangerous conditions up and down the South Carolina coast, and this is affecting tomorrow. This is happening tomorrow. That's how quickly this is going to occur. You have 2 to 4 feet around Myrtle Beach, and then a 1 to 3 foot range as you're heading into the Outer Banks and around Oak Island. So significant storm surge for pretty much a second coming of this storm. Here's how the rain looks. We're first going to see that rain make landfall really later on tonight. We'll start to see it here in the Charlotte area tomorrow morning. But then look at the center of circulation. It will make landfall again, South Carolina landfall for the first time. I would say anytime between about 11 and 3. A lot can still change with this forecast. This is one of those beasts that you got to stay up on. We had a washout weekend before. Now it looks really, for our weather aware days, it's really a weather aware day and a weather aware night. So that means Friday and Friday night is where we're seeing the most significant impacts. Here's 2 p.m. Very heavy rain. These are rain rates at 1 inch plus through the afternoon, heading into the evening, and then eventually the dry slot takes over. This is 6 a.m. Most of the rain is clear at that point. Still be pretty breezy at that point. The wind field has really flattened out across the area, but we are preparing for flooding. One big upgrade that we saw is our flash flood threat for tomorrow is now a high level from Charleston to Columbia and just south of Charlotte, where I would not be surprised if we're seeing a range of about 2 to 6 inches. I know that's a pretty big one, but there's going to be some breaks in the rain. Some areas we'll have the conveyor belts of just heavy rain shower after another. And looking ahead at one of our forecast models, this is what it's showing. Watch. Here is 11 a.m., maybe picking up a 1/4 inch at that point. Here's where it really surges through. The late afternoon through the evening, seeing those totals jump all the way up to that 2 to 3 to 4 inches. Even though we've been dry, that's enough rain over a short period of time that we're going to see some things start to die out. But then upwards to 6 inches, not out of the question. Back to the winds. Here's the chance of 40-mile-per-hour winds. It's going to happen along the shoreline. But now we even have a 55, 56% chance of this happening at least Friday evening for the Charlotte area. And I'll show you a better comparison of what that looks like. Notice the eastern side of our area, especially east of I-77. We're seeing up to 50-mile-per-hour gusts. That's a good possibility. So the winds will be an issue. Some trees have been falling across the area without the wind. So down trees are a possibility. Lots of rain that'll saturate the soil. So one last graphic for you before we go. The Ian remnants and still a tropical storm. I think the biggest impact for the Charlotte area is going to be during the afternoon, the evening, and then things start to wind down through the overnight. So I want everyone to be weather aware. Ian's not done. It was a devastating toll that we saw in Florida. Now it's taking round 2 here in the Carolinas. So if you have any plans right along the shoreline, try to cancel them, at least for your Friday. Things will improve through the weekend. But this is an ongoing story, and we'll continue to keep you updated here on WCNC Charlotte, online and on air. Take care, everyone.